See you guys right here. Yeah, the entire soundtrack is just baller. Outstanding, Marines. Out-fucking-standing. That's Kiefer Sutherland, and that's World at War. But hey. Duh, we'll get them next time. Anyway, so it's like I could listen to that entire soundtrack. And then, like the Piccadilly song from the soundtrack is pretty cool, too. Not like the level Piccadilly, which sucks ass more than most other levels in the entire franchise. But yeah, the entire soundtrack just incredible. So, but yeah, that's why I really would just like love the opportunity to just be able to cut loose. Now, it probably won't happen again. A lot of what's happened to me over the course of the past year and a half has been absolute luck. 100% luck. I mean, like, and this is in the middle of COVID, mind you. Like, most people consider the months of COVID to be like the unluckiest months. I mean, that was like, I've been divorced for about 2 years now, so it's just like you have all these things that are happening, where it's like, man, that's really unlucky that happened, but whole lot of I don't think so. I don't look at it that way. It was really lucky. A lot of lucky things that happened to me over the past year and a half, and you can't plan on luck. The more you plan on luck, the more that luck doesn't happen. So it's like, at this point, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned, my time with Stitch is done. I had a hell of a time, and we'll see where the road takes me. What I've learned, first off, there. What I've learned is that, yeah, Winter Soldier, we absolutely are. Thanks for hosting me with the viewer, by the way. Yeah, so what I have learned is that I just need to have fun, go out, do the things that I love, do the things that I enjoy, and just create shit. Just make stuff. Just go out and make stuff for the love of making it. And then just keep making it. And then eventually stuff will happen. Because that's exactly what's happened to me. Is just I just started doing stuff. And then the more I did stuff, the more good stuff happened. So, more good stuff will happen. It might not be Stitch. Well, thank you, fantastic. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. And Winter Soldier, you're right, man. I mean, I think that it'll be getting light support for the next year. And Lightning 17598, hello to you too. Welcome to the stream. In case you're just dropping in and you don't know exactly who I am, my name is MJ Crazer, and I am Stitch. Let me hear him make the face. Just compare it to this guy over here. Let me try and get everything right. There we go. I have to really furrow my brows doing Stitch. Anyway, there's that. So, and here's the thing, though, everybody. Stitch, I love Stitch. Oh, yeah, fantastic. I absolutely still am. It's just, I've got a lot of really great stuff for it. My Spaceman McMahon series. And what I'm doing, fantastic. The reason why you haven't seen too much of it is because I'm integrating it with my Adventures of Sir Winston thing. It's like the story that I wrote using my 2 Scottish Terriers, Sir Winston and Sweetie. So I am integrating the 2 of them. And right now, a part of the release is going to involve another kid's book, or 2 of them actually. One of them just being colored right now, Weekend at Sweetie's, and that's a Weekend at Bernie's reference, mind you. And the second one that's going to be releasing is, I wrote this book more or less to be able to help my boys with sounds that I know they're having trouble making, like particularly their L's and their R's. Like they still speak with pretty hard W's. So I'm writing a book using Sweetie and Winston to be able to help them with these particular sounds. So I'm doing more than just doing the YouTube Kids series. I want to be able to have an entire multimedia package because this is what my grandfather told me. My grandfather told me that whatever you do, make money. Whatever you do, you have to make money. So what I'm doing here is like with the YouTube Kids series, it's like I can post this up where, I can post it up and I can just have it live up there for the sake of just having people just watch it and enjoy it. But if I want to be able to actually do more with it than just like small little episodes, I need to figure out a way to be able to convert viewers. I need to be able to figure out a way to be able to make money off of it so that I can fund the project further. So and fantastic, not yet. With all the different projects that I have going on right now, it's a bit difficult to be able to provide any sort of estimate, especially since it's just a one-man operation. But I'm still going with it. I mean, I spent $1,200 on the suit that Spaceman McMahon wears. And that's not including man hours. So, yeah, I mean, so it's like, if nothing else, I absolutely have to do stuff with it just to justify the expenditure. So, but it is going to release, and it's going to release with a few things along with it. I love hearing that. Fantastic, thank you. And I'm doing my best to make it something that's fun, that has my personality, but is still something that's accessible to kids within the target demographic. And yeah, Winter Soldier, really, it is patience. But with all the Stitch stuff going on, like a lot of people have said they're going to be sad when Stitch is gone, or like let's say they had somebody else as Stitch. Now, one thing I've always wondered. What would you guys rather see me as? Would you guys rather see me return as Stitch, or if I could somehow return as one of the good guys? How would you guys feel about that? If I could return as one of the good guys. Well, and yeah, Rena, so it's like my grandpa, like a lot of people, when I told people that I wanted to go into filmmaking and stuff like that, I mean, rightfully so, they were skeptical because it's really hard to be able to make money that way. So I told him, I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. And he said, okay, well, you know what? Whatever you do, you have to make money. And that's the thing, is like we'll see what happens at the end of Cold War. We'll see what happens. So, but again, it's like what it boils down to is that you have to be able to. And I knew this from the very beginning. I knew this from before Stitch released, that you have to be good at moving on to your next thing. You can't take your biggest thing and then just camp on it forever. So it's like I can't just. It's like I as much as I love Stitch, it's just like it. Even though it's not desperation, from an outward perspective, from an outsider looking in would be able to see me just doing all of this this stuff independent of the main franchise, like doing all the Stitch stuff on my own, and people will be able to say, man, he's just really milking that for all that it's worth. And even though it's like I'm not, I have a lot of fun doing it. It's like I don't. Sometimes, like if that's the way that people are viewing it, then you have to view it that way as well. So it's like, I don't want people to believe that. It also says something about my capability. If somebody were to see me just doing Stitch stuff, if somebody would just see me doing Stitch stuff, then they're like, really what it would boil down to is they're just thinking like, okay, well, you know what? He's not really good enough to be able to do anything more than this one lucky break. But, you know, I'm not saying this because I'm high on myself, but I'm fucking good at what I do. And I have a lot of fun doing what I do. And even if it's 1 year, 2 years down the road, maybe 3 years, who knows how long it's going to be. I'm going to do big stuff. It's like, I'm not peaking at 30. You know, I was 30 when I did Stitch. I was 30 years old when I did Stitch for like the initial round of Stitch stuff. I was 30 years old. And I refuse to have peaked at 30. I mean, fuck that. I'm not peaking at 30. That's just the beginning. I'm not peaking at 30. I'm going to do cool things in my life. And it's like crossing off the bucket list. The world is that much smaller at this point. I mean, because now, like, I remember, again, there was a time when I would look at the Call of Duty operation stuff and think that this was so inaccessible to me. It's like, there is no way in hell I would ever be able to get to the point where, like, out of everybody who wants to be a Call of Duty operator, excuse me, there's no way in hell that anybody would ever say, you know what, this guy right here, just because the odds of somebody seeing my stuff, again, out of nowhere, everybody, I think I can't stress this enough. I posted a video, one 30-second clip to my Instagram profile, and that was enough. By the way, my profile was private when this happened. So when I say this was luck, I mean it. This was luck. This was just, like, not a snowball's chance in hell, and yet somehow I stayed frozen. It's like, my Instagram profile was private where I posted because I didn't feel like people would really care to see it. But my Instagram profile was private, and yet somehow they still saw it. Yes, and that's another thing fantastic, is that, I mean, it really helps with the convince, to be able to look convincing with it. And Mystique, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Steve. Steve has been around. Holy shit, Mystique! That's 284 subs that Mystique has gifted to this channel. Everybody, good night. Jeez, Mystique. By the way, in case you think that I've forgotten about the poster that I'm making with you in it, I haven't forgotten about it. It is more so juggling things, So, but yeah, everybody. So the way that I've seen it is that Call of Duty no longer seems like it's this, like it's another world anymore. And for me, I think that's one of the best things that's come out of all this, is that one thing that I've always wanted to do, which is be a Call of Duty operator, is something that I have now been able to do. And again, it's not just another operator. I mean, like, now I'm not going to say, I'm not even going to admit to it. I'm not going to even say that that Stitch is more popular than Mara. I mean, that's just not the case. It's fucking Mara. I mean, we can all agree that Zed's pretty hot. She's like the perfect storm. So it's like people aren't going to simp for Stitch the same way that they simp for Mara. That's the territory. But even Zedra wasn't a main character. Even Mara wasn't a main character. Stitch was, like, the entire year centered around this fucking guy right here. Every single time a new season came out, a new cinematic, even if Stitch wasn't there, he was still there. He was in the background, and everybody was asking the question, what the hell is Stitch doing? I had the privilege to be able to be that guy. I had the privilege to be able to be the guy that everybody was asking the question about, asking who is he, what's he doing right now, what's he doing with Adler, making him watch home videos. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Well, and I was about to say, never mind. I was about to say something that would have been a bad thing to say. I'll just say the first part of it. Perseus in the main campaign. People are always asking, where's he at? And that's as far as I will say before I start endangering myself. But it's like Stitch was the main villain. And he was the main villain for the entire year. He was around for everywhere. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate to have landed that by pure luck. By pure luck, everybody. So, and I can't expect more than that. People say, like, I've crossed an item off my bucket list. Being a Call of Duty operator and being this one. That's a pretty big item on the bucket list. So, Bro, of course I know something about Perseus. But I mean, at the same time, it says it in the campaign. So, the Duga ending. Yeah, yep. Adler's a dick. But again, that's all part of the theme. It's all part of the overarching theme of the Black Ops series, which explores the moral gray areas of clandestine U.S. operations. So, because and that's the question. It's like, what did Stitch do? Stitch did jack shit. Stitch was helping with a chemical weapon. So that's something, but that's not like. That's not like. He was a chemical engineer, and he had his eye taken out because Adler was upset. This is for Weaver, and then he stabs him in the eye, and I am not Rena. I will not be at that autograph session because I am going to be in I'm going to be away from an internet signal. My boys are going to be with their mother this weekend, and I am going off on a adventure of sorts. So it's going to be pretty sweet. But yeah, so I'm not going to be there. I'm just going to say the line, Perseus was never one person. That's it. That's all I'm saying. So it's like that's the question. Thank you, Winter Soldier. Well, fantastic. So first off, fantastic. There's nothing that I know, that only I know, that's canon. There's assumptions and stuff like that I have made, and interpretations that I have made, but nothing that's actually canon. So, no, Steve. So it was the marketing company. it was the marketing company that that reached out to me. Here's the way that I believe that it worked out. So I think it started off as me just like doing marketing materials and stuff. Me just suiting up as a sort of stand-in, and then that was it. But I think that as time went on, because I do know this, like the scope of my involvement exploded over the course of like 2 weeks. It went from being just one thing to all of a sudden being, okay, well, and can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? And, I mean, we were doing a lot of things that typically would be done in the studio there, but they couldn't because they were shut down. So, but yeah, I was contacted randomly. So yeah. So essentially, what it is that I'll just tell you about Stitch. Stitch is an ultranationalist. Stitch believes in the pure idea of Russia and the ideas and the overarching ideology of pure Russian, pure communist thought, and the industrialists and the oligarchs and the plutocrats, and the Russian aristocracy in general took advantage throughout the entire 20th century. The Russian aristocracy and the oligarchs took advantage of the ideas of communism in order to be able to make themselves rich, in order to be able to enrich their own lives at the expense of the proletariat. So while Marxism meant well, the result was that human nature resulted in its eventual, everything that happened wrong with Marxism happened because people are people. Like, until people cease to be human, Marxism, communism would never work. Because humans are, with power comes corruption. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I don't remember who said it, but I'm sure you guys have heard the line. And in communism, a very select group of people have power, which means that there's less people sharing the power, so the more power that you get, then the more susceptible to corruption that you are. And that's exactly what happened in 20th century communism, is where a very small group of people were in power, and as a result, massive amounts of corruption took place. And that slowly eroded the foundation upon which the entire nation was built until its eventual downfall in the late 1980s. And it really was the Chernobyl accident that really served as a sort of catalyst to the eventual downfall of the USSR. Are you talking about Arash? Are you guys talking about Arash? Because I'm fairly certain that my expressions were used for Arash. In fact, I mean, like, so certain that I originally thought that Arash was Stitch. Like, and there were rewrites that had taken place during programming, because that was one thing. That was one thing that I. Yes, Arash did get killed. Well, no, Pirate King. So maybe you weren't here last time, or it was a few times ago. So, Pirate King. Tell me, and you can see it right here. Stitch's left eye is missing. Can you tell me where Arash was shot? Just because I'm just looking at chat and nothing is happening. Arash was shot in the left eye. Now, the game makes very fucking clear. It makes very sure that you know where he got shot. It shows the glasses. It shows the glasses hanging on the wall, like the glass is broken and everything. where the bullet went through. And it shows it a lot. It shows it on the evidence wall. It shows it at the very end of the game when you beat it on some of the endings. But this is the most fascinating one. Originally, Stitch had a massive scar on the back of his head, right about here. Right about here. Stitch had a massive scar. It was a gnarly looking scar. It looked a lot like an exit wound. So, and the scar's not there anymore, mind you. The scar's not there anymore, but it was there. So, what I had thought was that they had replaced, was that there was some sort of rewrites that took place that then meant that Arash was actually Stitch. Twist ending. But then Fajardi was good enough to be able to go in and actually take the face, strip down the face models and stuff. And he saw that, it wasn't that it wasn't me. But like with the expressions and stuff, I've stacked photos right next to each other of like Arash and myself, and Arash making the exact same expressions that I have made myself. So I believe that. So I had always wondered if Arash was actually originally Stitch, and but then also seeing the expressions on there, it's like seeing my expressions. I know exactly which expressions I delivered for certain parts of Arash's face. About the scar, that could be the same one on Adler. Yeah, I've heard some things, but I don't want to say them out loud because I don't know what sort of role that they might play. I know some things, and I mean, I feel like me saying them would be fairly innocuous, but I don't want to push my luck. So, but a general assumption that I have seen, just so you guys know, a general assumption that I have seen is that there's several different stories for it, just because it helps to support Adler's inherent dishonesty, like his pathological dishonesty. Like he uses it to be able, he uses it and he uses a lie to be able to serve the purpose for which to be able to serve the cause for which he is currently fighting, or to be able to serve some end. So, but yeah, it's a gnarly scar. It's a gnarly scar. A lot gnarlier than Stitch's, to be perfectly honest. But Stitch was, well, okay. And here's Pirate King. Here's another why. Here's another reason why. Another thing to keep in mind. Another reason why I thought that there was some sort of rewrite that took place. Because what happens when you get stabbed in the eye, right? You get stabbed in the eye, and that's it. But where does Stitch's scar go? Comes down, goes all the way and the fuck up here. And kind of like a jagged scar going up right up there. So unless, you have that big old scar, but then Stitch got stabbed in the eye, which would mean that as he got stabbed in the eye, the knife went all the way up here somehow, and also making a separate slice right there. No, it looks like a scar that was the result of having somebody's face kind of rebuilt. So it's just like, you have all those facts. You have Adler who did it. I mean, that's why I personally thought that maybe there had been some rewrites taking place. Before I actually saw everything. And I thought that, and of course there's always stuff happening that I don't know about and that other actors don't know about. Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, Arena. I mean, and anybody who's on here. So the one thing, and this is one thing that I kept in mind from the very beginning. The one thing that you need to that happens with video games. The one thing that happens with video games is that there is always going to be something that changes before the release. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's massive. So, so it's like it's like I know what the changes are, as far as Stitch is concerned. There's a lot of things that happen outside of Stitch that's like I have no freaking idea. But yeah, there's a lot of things that happen outside of there that it's just like I have no idea. But again, it's like that's actually that's one of the most important things that I've learned in life. It's like if it doesn't affect me, if it doesn't affect me or it doesn't affect the way that I would do my job, that's information that I don't need. It's like I don't need to know stuff for the sake of knowing stuff. So it's like I know some things. I know there's a lot of other things that I don't know, and I'm just fine with that. But oh damn! All right, everybody. So I do need to go. I need to go and oh, really quick, answering the question, fantastic. I know of a few that I really wished would have made it in. But they so far didn't, and I don't think that they will. So, what's the date today, though? The date today is the 28th. You know what that means, everybody? 3 days, 7 days. That means 1 week. 1 week until a new Stitch bundle comes out. And I don't know for sure, but I know the skin exists. It could be shirtless Stitch, at which case get your wallets ready, and then everybody's going to be maining shirtless Stitch. I know I will. I'll main shirtless Stitch while shirtless. If that's what it is, I'll do a shirtless stream. I know it sounds I know that sounds sensationalist, and it sounds like it's, going for views, but oh yeah, an ultra bundle. We're like reactive tattoos. That would be pretty sick. So, hey, fantastic. I have hope. That it's shirtless Stitch. So, but I have got to get to bed, and the reason is because I have to take my older son to school in the morning, then I have to drive all the way back, drop my younger son off at preschool. If it's okay, everybody, you heard it here. If it is shirtless Stitch that releases, then I will do the entire stream. I will do the entire stream with the mask, and I'll do it shirtless. That's what we'll do. That's the plan if it's actually shirtless Stitch. So, stay tuned. But everybody, you know what? I've really enjoyed just having a chat stream. I know, like, a lot of people will jump on here because I'm playing video games, but honestly, like, it feels really good just sometimes sit down and talk. Because when you're playing the games and stuff like that, it's like you can't really focus on two things, but I can just focus on chat right here, just streaming upwards, and then just answer questions, just interact directly. So I'm also really amazed at how well spoken and how, dare I say, cognitive I've been for some of these later times. I've felt really good lately, you guys, and that's like an understatement. I have felt really good lately about things, about life, about just like just being generally happy. And I don't know why. Like, I felt like I was afraid that maybe I would have a hard time when Stitch was on the way out, but I'm really excited about life. I'm really excited about things. And that's one thing. I think that like one of the best things that you can do is just like wake up every morning and like first off getting enough sleep. I mean that's crucial. But it's like, let me tell you guys when I feel best. I feel best when I learn how to be able to enjoy what's right in front of me. It's just like when I can get when I can get the small jobs done. The small jobs are some of the best things that you can do in life. Like, people have said, like, the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning, make your bed. This is true. I have noticed a massive difference on the days when I wake up and the first thing that I do is make my bed, than on the days when I just climb out of bed and then leave it unmade and just go about my day. Doing the small jobs throughout the day is important. I mean, like, and it sounds kind of lame when you say it out loud, but like, when I get up, I make my bed. I go downstairs, I have breakfast, I make myself breakfast, make the boys breakfast or whatever, and then I do the dishes immediately and then put them in the dishwasher. Take the dogs out for a walk, tidying up the living room. I mean, these are things that only take a few minutes to do, but they make a massive difference in my ability to get other larger things done. And that right there, that alone affects the way that I view myself, affects the way that I feel. But then by going throughout the day and actually learning to enjoy what's right in front of me, staying the hell off of my phone is another big one. Now, I've seen a lot of people lately, like a lot of people talking about staying away from social media and stuff in order to be able to help their mental health. This is true. These are good things, but it's kind of like the way that I've realized it is that it's like by taking a complete break from social media for like a month or two, or for like a week or two, and then all of a sudden going back. It's like that doesn't address the underlying issue. It's just like, yeah, you'll have like a week or two to regenerate, and then all of a sudden you're back with social media all over the place. The way to address the issue is to be able to learn how to handle it as it comes. So if you find yourself in a situation, just always checking your phone, ask yourself why. It's like, why am I opening up Facebook? Why am I opening up Instagram? Now, you can always go on and you can just say, I'm just going to remove the app from the home screen and stuff. But again, this doesn't address the core issue, because eventually the app will end up back on your phone and you'll have the exact same problems that you did. In order to be able to get to the crux of the problem, you have to figure out what's realistic in terms of what you can manage for the rest of your life, and then work with that. If you enjoy social media, if you communicate with people through social media, then the idea of just like cutting it out cold turkey and then like taking a break from it, they say that's unrealistic. You will go back eventually. So the way that I've handled it, and I kind of feel bad because I know there's a lot of people who message me and I don't stay on top of it the way that I normally can, or the way that I normally have. But I've also noticed a massive difference in how good that I feel and how productive that I am. And productivity and being able to accomplish things is one of the biggest sources of me feeling good, of where I find my satisfaction in life outside of being a father. So it's like I have all my social media apps on my phone, and the one question I ask myself whenever I pull out my phone is, why the hell am I checking this, and why can I not check it later in the day? It's like, let's say I make an Instagram post, and then it's like, you keep going back. It's like, how many people have liked it now? How many people have liked it now? How many people have commented? I'm going to comment on it now and respond to everybody. But then you start getting obsessed with the likes. You start getting obsessed with the numbers and the metrics, and you stop focusing on the reason why you made the picture or the video in the first place. And you didn't do it for the likes, and it isn't going to do anything. There's no benefit to checking it a lot throughout the day, just seeing, here's a few more likes, here's a few more likes. There's no benefit to that. In fact, it's actually a massive detriment. So what I've done is that whenever I feel that urge to check social media, to open up TikTok, and TikTok was tough because I've never really had this sort of increase. Like, I've never had this many likes, or I've never had this many follows over such a short period of time. Like, just every time I post a video when I'm not banned, I just see it, like every hour there'll be 100 new followers, 200 new followers. It's like, that dopamine rush. I mean, and this is proven. There's that dopamine rush associated with seeing all of these things. We really start seeing all of these things. We really just start seeing all these things starting to pile up, and it's really not hard not to get excited about it. But you just have to ask yourselves, like, why am I going on and checking this? What benefit is it? And that's what I've gotten really good at, is just backing away from it and just focusing on doing the things that I love and then posting things about it. So, it's like, I would honestly say that if you guys feel like you're having a hard time accomplishing things, the first thing that you should do is learn to control your social media consumption. And just always remember that you accomplish nothing. You accomplish nothing by checking it a lot throughout the day. But if you check it, a few times throughout the day, and making sure there's enough time between there's enough time between points where you check it, then you will get a lot more done, and you will feel better about yourself. Like, people talk about helping your mental health, and before I say anything else, I really do feel like we have to be careful about how much about how much that we use terms like depression and mental health. And I'm not saying that so that people feel uncomfortable talking about it, but I'm saying that because the more, it's just like, if it's like, there are some things that are legitimate depression. There are some things that are legitimate mental health crises. But a lot of people what I've started to see is that a lot of people are taking things that are just like generic anxiety, or just like, generic, just like things that you're supposed to be discouraged about, things that are supposed to make you a little bit nervous or anxious. They're taking these instances and then saying that it's a mental health crisis. Here's an example. Like, I saw somebody the other day say, being around people gives me anxiety. Or it's like, they're like anxious, but like talking about it in a clinical sense. And then, they say, it gives, it triggers, or they say it triggers my anxiety. They'll say things like, it triggers my anxiety, as though being around people triggers this underlying medical issue. When that is the case with some people. I used to have social anxiety, but that's exactly what it is. It's social anxiety. It's a normal thing. And the more that we can recognize these sorts of mental struggles that we have as being normal, then the easier they are to overcome. There's a lot of things, and just because I don't want it to get too heavy right now, so I've struggled throughout my life with some pretty hefty issues. Without going into any detail, there have been some points in my life, everybody, that were fucking dark. I'm talking dark. I'm not talking about I went off on drug binges and anything like that, but just like that feeling where you're just sitting alone in a room and you're like, why the hell can I not be happy? Why is my life like this? It's like, why is happiness for all these people over here, but not for me? It's like, my life has been dark. And the best thing that I did was to tell myself that there's like almost 8 billion people in the world. There's almost 8 billion people in the world. I'm not special. The things that I'm experiencing on a global scale are not special. There is nothing special about me. So it's just like, and the more that I realized that these things don't, and the biggest thing is that my depression is telling myself that my depression did not make me special. It did not make me different. It did not make me any sort of exception to any rules. My depression did not make me special, because what I found is that when I felt like, it's like, oh, I have depression, I have anxiety. Once I started saying I have these things, and I found myself using these things to scapegoat my failures. And the more I used it to scapegoat my failures, then the more I found myself, then the harder life became. So it's just like by allowing myself to feel like it, that these struggles made me special, then these struggles got worse. So the very simple thing of just telling myself that I'm not special, my struggles are not special. Yeah, it is. I mean, and a lot of people might look at that and say, "Oh, you're just being so cynical." No, of course you're special. It's like, I mean, well, really, I mean, by the numbers, probably not. I mean, it's just like, and we can't enable ourselves. Like saying these sorts of things, if I were to tell myself, "Oh, you know what?" It's just like it's okay that I failed at this because I have depression. I would rather be successful and feel that I'd rather be successful and tell myself that I'm being a little bitch than to accept the fact that I have these struggles and then fail. Because at the end of the day, I would rather have success and have been tougher on myself than to have failed and then talked sweet to myself. Even though those words were right and completely justified. What it boils down to is the fact that it's really just like, I want success in life, and I want to continue to have success in life. But the only way that I continue to have success in life is to not allow myself to dwell on my failures. And it's not, and it's like depression isn't a failure. Don't anybody think that that's what I'm saying. But if we're not careful, then these sorts of internal struggles that we have will lead us down a road where all of a sudden we have no idea what the hell happened. We'll look around and wonder how our life became what it was. Well, Mystique, and that's the thing. So it's like, my life. It's really weird for me to say that I don't believe in fate, or that I don't believe in things happening for a reason, because it sounds so mystic. But then I look at all the things that have happened in my life that have led me to where I am right now. And there's a lot of things that happened by complete chance, and a lot of things that had to line up perfectly in order to put me where I am today. And I think what it is like, at the end of the day, what it is that if we focus on being the best that we can be, if we focus on doing the things that we love, doing the things that we enjoy, and then just toughing it out through the tough times, then we will get eventually where we want to be, or someplace even better. And and that's really what it is. And it's like, like one of the biggest things for me was knowing that nobody's coming to help me. I mean, there are people to help me, but really, it's like, the toughest times of my life is knowing that it's like the things that were hardest to like some of the hardest things to think. The idea that we are alone were also the things that helped me to become the strongest. Like the realization, telling myself and knowing, just like you're really fucking feeling it, really feeling and understanding the fact that we are alone helps us realize that we have two options. Option one, stay in this pit of misery, or two, figure out a way to be happy. In spite of these struggles that we're having, figure out a way to get past it. And that's a big... See, Emma? And that's the thing. That's the thing. You had two choices. You could either just say, "Oh, you know what? I have these problems," and then allow it to ruin your life. Or you could say, like you have, you could say, "You know what? I have it, but I would much rather succeed and not accept this problem as an actual detriment then accept it as a detriment, and then use it and then allow that to enable myself to fail. So, and really, and here's the craziest thing. It's just like, we're always talking about, and this, and it's good that we support each other. It's good that we go out and then we have, that we allow people to be able to talk about the problems. We allow people to be able to tell us what's going on. What is it that we're facing? These are things that are good, and these are things that we need to be able to share. But at the end of the day, we are the only ones who can help us get out of these dark places. Like, we're the only ones. Nobody else can pull us out. So whenever we're in these dark places, we just have to remember that we can't wait for somebody to come along and we can't wait for somebody to come along and save us. We can't wait for somebody to come and say, you know what, I'll help you, and through me, I will be able to take you to happiness. I will be able to show you the way to the light. It's just that's not the case. That can't happen, and it won't ever happen, because these are internal struggles that we face. We are the ones responsible for being able to make shit happen, and if we fail, it's our fault. And that's not something that's supposed to be cynical. That's not something that's supposed to be negative. That's something that's supposed to help. Knowing that, when we know that if something fails, that it's our fault, that immediately comes with the implication that it's also that if a failure is entirely ours, so is a victory. A victory is entirely within our power. And the same way that failure lies with us and us alone. And the day that we remember that is the day that we'll be able to face anything that comes across our plates. Whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, or whether it's just something smaller. But I know that a lot of people have social anxiety. But let me tell you this right here. There was a time in my life I had social anxiety. Just do whatever you want. Live life for you. If you have social anxiety, let's say you go out into the world. Let's say you say something that people think is weird or is awkward. Fuck them. Honestly. Right in the face. Who cares? The day that I said who cares is the day that Cheshire was born. That character that you guys see with the Australian cowboy hat and the Texas accent. Going off and talking about it. It's this Sam Elliott sounding motherfucker. Putting on a cowboy hat and just going out and just talking shit and doing whatever the hell that I want to, because that is the Cheshire way. Because I'm enjoying life for me. I'm not enjoying that for anybody else. Fuck them. And fuck you too if you think that I'm the kind of person who's going to have to live my life and make my decisions based upon what you think of me or what you think I should be doing. At the end of the day, everybody, social anxiety, in my personal opinion, stems from our innate desire to belong and to be accepted. But Bernie, you're absolutely right. Fuck them. If people get upset at you, if people judge you for being you, then fuck them. I'm completely serious. If you're into something and you think that it's weird, yeah, see, Mystique, you know what? Fuck him. I'm serious. People can literally be whatever they want to be in life. I'm a complete believer in that. People can be whatever they want to be in life, and the only thing that is stopping them is the boundaries and the restraints that they place upon themselves. Now, other people can facilitate this, like Mystique. Your stepfather can say you're a shitty singer. But then and that's a hard place to get out of. I'm not discounting that. I'm not discounting how hard it is to be able to get out of those places. But at the end of the day, people will, there are always going to be people who tell you that you suck. There's always going to be people who tell you that your work is shitty. I hear it on a daily basis, whether it's in comments. It's actually more just in comments. But, well, thank you, Rena. And here's the thing. Here's one thing that I realized. So I've written several characters throughout my life, and each of these characters ended up really, like their original iterations, they ended up being versions of Cheshire. Cheshire is honestly just me, just overblown. in a lot of ways, just like, and that was and these are things that happened during like the socially anxious periods of my life. Like when I just start talking with a Texan accent, just like my entire demeanor changes, my entire thought processes change. It's natural. Like, I mean, all I have to do is just really just throw onto this Texan accent. I can just talk a million miles per hour about whatever the fuck that I want to talk about. I mean, I can talk about, say, like the ice cream trucks driving through the neighborhood. You look at the side of the truck, and then you're like, okay, how the fuck is Spider-Man supposed to look like? There's like gumballs for eyes. And it never even looks like that. You pull the wrapper off the ice cream, and sure enough, it looks like he's crying. It looks like he's just, like his girlfriend broke up with him. Not Mary Jane. I'm talking about like some type of like gutter skank who was just like shoots up heroin and has like 3 kids, but she doesn't know who the fathers are. She doesn't even know where the babies are, but you know what? Fuck it. So, I mean, I'm talking about that sort of Spider-Man. I'm talking about not even knockoff Spider-Man. Let's say like Arachnid Boy, right? Let's say like Arachnid Boy. Like that's the sort of ice cream character that you get from these trucks going through the neighborhoods. Anyway, no, I don't want to try and be famous. Fucking bot. Fuck them. What's his name? Gurchaff Gaming. Watch a movie because you want to see it, and don't skip it because they say that's a horrible movie. That's the thing, fantastic. There's a lot of movies that I love that people say are shit, but I love these movies. Like I love, what's a movie that I love that people just absolutely, that people hate? Pacific Rim isn't one of them. Pacific Rim is a pretty solid fan base. What's one movie that I love that just people, that isn't like, ironically, oh, thank you, Mystique. One movie that isn't ironically like Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is a terrible movie. Great special effects and stuff, but it's just an overall terrible movie. But it's got fucking Michael Ironside, so there's that. But yeah, Michael Ironside, absolute stud. Starship Troopers, terrible movie, but it's a fun movie. I like to have fun in movies more than I like to be able to go. It's when I feel like I am being manipulated. It's when I feel like quality. It's when I feel like quality has been tossed by the wayside in favor of just making money. Yeah, there's some movies that are just fun. There's some movies that are just fun, and that's what movies are supposed to be. Like people will say, "Oh no, it's a crappy movie." Why? Well, because the characters are so poorly developed and stuff. It's like, did you have fun? Did you enjoy your time at the theater? Like people shit on the first Jurassic World. I love the first Jurassic World. The first Jurassic World is awesome, and Nosferatu, we are going back. And that's the thing, it's like, that's what movies are meant to do. That's what art is meant to do. Art is meant to communicate. Art is meant for us to be able to connect with. If we can't connect with art, then it is shitty art. But that's the thing. That's how you can really judge the merit of something, is how well can you connect with it. And if you can't connect with it, then being able to see that other people connect with it and then assessing it accordingly. So, holy shit. Okay, it's 1:42 my time. Okay, everybody. I need to go. I have 2 sons that are going to be waking up in like 4 hours, and I can't be completely trashed. So everybody, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really, seriously appreciate it. I've been talking for 2 hours straight, nonstop, and I've had a hell of a time doing it. Periodically being able to do some of these just chatting streams, I actually really like it. So good night, Monster Emma. Thank you so much for coming out. My Macabre, fantastic. Mystique, thank you so much for modding. While warzoning, being able to multitask like that is actually pretty damn impressive. So I seriously appreciate it. Hey, it's Sellers. I didn't even realize that you're in here. Have a good night, man. And Steve, you have a good night. Big Cosma, thank you so much for coming out. And I say you made your costume. Nice work. Yeah, get some water before I regret it. That is actually a big deal. One night I did this, and then I woke up in the morning and just my voice was shot. It was weak. So everybody, oh man, even just the thought of it, good Lord. Everybody, So I'm about to go crash. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. And I will see you, tomorrow is Thursday. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. You have yourself a good night, Winter Soldier, Big Cosma, Mystique, everybody. You guys have yourselves a great night, and I will see you tomorrow night, hopefully, with this entire setup running the way